This is Liz.
This is Jade.
And this is Carly.
And we are the Babes, covering all things babies, parenting, and women's issue. Join us in all of our TMI chats, and when a topic needs an expert, we promise to bring you the best.
Our podcast is an inclusive, no judgment zone. No mommy shaming here. We're diving into the nitty-gritty of real life as we get honest about the highs and the lows of motherhood.
If you hear a baby or a husband crying in the background during this episode, it probably means we just corked a bottle of wine and are hiding inside our closets. Oh, you too? Well, this is episode 23. Welcome to
Babes and Babies.
Oh my gosh.
We have an
Hello,
exciting
friends.
episode for you guys. We're answering a bunch of questions. So I don't know
It's so
how
funny.
exciting
Normally
it
we're like,
actually is.
it's a super exciting episode of just us.
Right.
You're welcome. Speaking of it being just us, you guys, let me give you an update on what's happening in my world right now.
Please.
So last night, Evan and I are sitting in the house by ourselves, well, with Bella, and I was in the bathroom, and Evan's like, Carly? I'm like, yeah. And I see him walk out, and he's like, I just heard a door open, I think. And I'm like, what? And all of the doors in our house are locked except for the back door. And I'm like panicked. So we have a golf club under our bed. So I grabbed this golf club and I'm like walking around the house with the golf club. And I was like, totally freaked out. So then I'm like, okay, whatever. This morning, I'm the only one here. And I make a cup of coffee. And then I hear this noise in the kitchen of something falling. And the top of the Keurig where like you put the water in, the plastic part had somehow mysteriously jumped off the Keurig and was on the ground in the kitchen. And as I'm sitting here, I was talking to you guys and we both heard some type of knocking thing happening on our door. So I don't know what's going on in my house right now, but it's super creepy.
Yeah, I like the Keurig thing blows my mind. Like, how does the top
I don't know how that happens. Like, I would say it was like something to do with pressure or something, but no.
No,
There's
because
no way.
that water isn't like the boiled water. That's just the storage part.
Right. I don't know. It's so weird. I know. I'm super creeped out. Also, my parents are moving here today. So I'm like, is this just like a weird energy thing? There's like lots happening in the world of the Waddells.
What if your parents have a spirit that follows them around?
Ew, I just got the grossest feeling all over my body.
No,
oh,
gosh. It could be a good spirit. Do you have
It's
any?
a protective spirit.
Yeah,
okay, maybe.
Do you have any like
Then it needs to go to their house.
True.
Yeah, well, probably. I mean, we've had weird like ghost stuff to follow us our whole lives. So this isn't really like that new of a thing to be happening to me, but I just don't like it. I don't want it to be happening like this is the first time weird stuff's happened when I have like a baby.
Yeah.
And I don't like it. I'm like, get away from my baby.
Well,
if Bella starts like cooing and looking around at something today, I'm going to be little.
Maybe you should just say, hey, like if you're here, I give you permission to go.
Yes. If you're here, I give you permission to go. Go away from here. Or go hang out at my parents' new house. Or their old house. Their old house would be better. Okay. It's
I've never had
listening,
any
maybe.
weird ghost stuff. So like I don't
Oh, gosh.
like never.
Really?
I've heard
You're
like weird
very
noises
lucky.
before, but it was like in my house I grew up in was a really old house, so there'd be weird noises sometimes or like but I've never had like I had a friend who like this like painting would always move and like weird things like that.
What?
Yeah, like and I've never experienced like anything. One time I thought that I saw a ghost and I was staying at my grandparents' house, but I think it was my grandma sleepwalking in her white nightgown. Stop it.
Not a ghost.
Ran across the floor in a white nightgown and like I was half asleep. So at first I was like, oh my gosh. And I like freaked out. And then I was like, Grandma. And she was like sleepwalking.
Oh my gosh.
That was like my closest experience.
But
I would
funny.
be freaked out for sure.
Yeah, it's really scary.
Yeah, that is freaky. I used to know. So, Liz, did you ever do the WNCC art camp as a kid?
No.
Okay, so there was this art camp where we grew up, and it was in this old building downtown in this small town. And the lady who started this camp supposedly haunted the house, but she was like a good spirit. So she was always there.
Getting a weird.
She was always there just to like watch the kids or whatever. Like they were, and there was this big picture of her hanging up in there, like those old paintings.
Oh my gosh, yes.
And she upstairs in this like little office was what was supposedly like her office when she ran this this art center. And the lady who ran the art camp would be up there, and when you would walk up there, it was like, I'm telling you, the humidity in there turned completely like to 100%. It was so stuffy, it was so thick, and like it just had this weird energy in it. And the lady who was the art director just loved it. She was like, "Oh yeah, she's here all the time. She'll like when I'm at my desk and I'm writing, like my papers will move around and all that stuff." Yeah, and she's like,
I keep getting chills.
But she was like very welcoming of the spirit though. So I don't know what I believe in this kind of stuff. Like you never know.
Right.
Because there are weird things that do happen in life and you can't explain them. But
right.
That was just like, I just remember going up there when I was like 8 years old and going into this room and just feeling the energy in there. And as a kid, I mean, you're a kid, you have a huge imagination, but it was just weird. Like I was like, I didn't see any papers move, but
I've been in a place though where I felt like the presence of like evil, like when I was traveling and I went to this place like where they used to do crazy things in the Andes Mountains, and I remember going up there and like the rocks were shaking. It was like super, super weird. Like you could feel like the energy shift, but not like. But I never like saw anything like crazy.
When I was like 14 years old, or whenever the first movie, The Ring, came out, the first one.
Oh, it was 16.
Okay, well, I was in the theater, and 5 minutes in,
I'm pretty sure I was with you. You were crying, and we had to leave.
Yeah, like 5 minutes into the first scene, they open up the closet, and that girl's dead in there or whatever. And I remember crying, and I was like, the devil is in the room.
Oh my gosh,
it's so funny because obviously, I mean, I don't really believe that now, but I felt like such a scary energy. Like I was bawling my eyes out. I had to leave and not watch the movie. But it's funny when you get those feelings of some shift in energy, and whether that's just ourselves or I don't know. It's so weird.
I don't know.
But that's why I don't like scary movies. I think like scary movies, like I feel like sometimes I can feel those like weird things when I'm watching it. It makes me feel weird, and I don't like it.
Like you're inviting it?
No, I agree with that.
Like I don't know, like any movies like with evil stuff.
Yeah,
like, I don't like it at all. And I have friends who do, and I'm like, you guys are freaks. Don't you? You kind of like scary movies or no?
I do, but now it's so different. Like Carly was saying with the baby, now everything's totally so different. So watching scary movies now, I don't want to invite that sort of energy, into my home.
Right.
So it's different.
I think it's really funny because Evan and I were talking about. There's just one time that I was coming. I don't know if I've told this story. So one time I was coming home, and like I was living with my parents at the time. It was like, I don't know, like I think in between cruise ships. And I was supposed to stay at my brother's house. And I was like, hey, I'm going to stay over at Zach's house tonight. And I had decided like 2:00 in the morning, I was just going to go home because I wanted to sleep in my own bed. So I went home, and my mom thought there was a burglar coming in the house. And so she like pops her head out of, like I came in through the garage. She pops her head out of the room and is staring at me. And
oh my gosh.
She can't see very well. So she starts, you guys, it was like speaking in tongues. She was so scared, and she couldn't think of words to yell at me. So she was like, and I was like, what? And I was like staring at my mom, like waving her arms, like screaming at me. And I'm like, and I see my dad's head like pop out of the door too, just like staring around the corner. And my mom is like full on like trying to like, I don't know, scare me out of the house or something. And my dad is like not even doing anything. He's so scared. He's just like standing behind my mother. And I'm like, Mom. And she's like, Carly? I'm like, yes. She's like, oh my God. I thought you were a burglar. And so I'm like texting both my brothers. I'm like, oh my God, Mom just started speaking in tongues and thought I was a burglar. It was so funny. But last night I had that same feeling because I was like, I always question, like, if something creepy happened, would I be the one who would go on attack mode, or would I be the person standing behind?
Well, is it fight or flight?
Oh,
what
yeah.
are you going to do?
Totally. And it was so funny because I last night was like, oh, I'm going to go crush this person with this golf club.
Oh, yeah. I know. I loved in this story how you're like, I went out with the golf club and like Evan stayed in bed.
I just like have to know. And then he came out after me and was like, okay. And he had like a knife on him that I guess he keeps next to the bed, which I didn't even know about. And I'm like, oh my gosh, you have a knife? And he's like, yeah. I'm like, well, you have to get closer to the intruder than I do.
But no, okay, listen to this. So I was told that knives are the number one weapon that are turned against you when you're in a... So don't, because think about, if you're say if you have a burglar come in and for one, you have to get closer to try to stab them. And then for two, they can just like grab your wrist and just like turn it back on you.
Oh, okay. So I'm going to tell him to keep the knife away and we'll get a second golf club. It's crazy though. It's crazy around here, you guys.
Okay, so some of this actually leads into some of the questions though that people were asking because a lot of like first-time moms, especially, they'll get like anxious about a lot of things and your thoughts do change.
Oh,
you know? So some of the moms were asking like how did you deal with those thoughts? Like did those start creeping in when you were pregnant or like after you gave birth? And how do you deal with them?
Oh gosh.
I don't think I really had a lot of worries when I was pregnant just because until my last couple weeks had a really healthy pregnancy. So I never really had like any worries then. And as a first-time mom, you just don't know what to expect, I guess. So I was just taking it day by day. But definitely now, everything I do, I have a thought about her safety or, you know what I mean? I still, when I go up the stairs, because we have like a loft and you can look down on the railing, every time I'm holding her, I'm like, oh my God, what if I tripped? You know, I think about it all the time. It's just I don't know. It's something that I don't think ever goes away once you're a mom. Even Tanner's mom told me the other day, she was thinking about something. She's like, yeah, once you're a mom, you're a mom. Even when they're 31 years old, you know, you're always thinking about your kid and whether they're okay.
Yeah. I was total opposite. I had so much anxiety while I was pregnant. Like, I think it was because I didn't think I would be able to get pregnant. And then when I did, I was like, this can't be like happening to me. Like, this is too good to be happening to me. What's going to happen to make this bad? And so I think, and I was just so sick. Like, it was just hard to get out of bed. And so that constantly made me feel like I'm not getting enough food in me, and she's not getting the or he or she at the time isn't getting the nutrients I need, and I'm being a bad mom. And what's going to, you know, I was always waiting for like the other shoe to drop. Like, and I was super nervous about it. And I don't know that I think I would be the same way in the next pregnancy, just because I think when I was told it's going to be hard for you to get pregnant, I still, even with like wanting to have another baby, I still have that fear. Like, maybe Bella was just this like crazy thing that happened that was a total miracle. And maybe it is going to be really hard in this next one. Like, I have anxiety about even that. And I don't think there's a way to get over it. I don't know. I mean, talking to people, I guess, like, having friends be like, hey, I had this too, or I struggle with this, or whatever, maybe.
Or just getting in maybe like another 1 or 2 doctor appointments, you know, just little checkups maybe that'll just to know. I don't know.
Right. I mean, you know, like my gyno, there were no problems. He was like, I don't think there would even be a problem with me getting pregnant. Like, obviously my body worked, but you know, I mean, gosh, we women have so much anxiety about all sorts of things. It's hard to not.
I know what you mean. I have, so that my first pregnancy with Emerson, I didn't have any of those anxieties really, but now I do because Emerson was born with that true knot in her umbilical cord, and babies are stillborn with it, or often born and fine for 2 days, and then they just die. And like you know, it's like so weird. So
scary.
And you can't detect that with an ultrasound. So I am absolutely not like terrified, but it's like trauma that I don't know how to process yet, because I feel like that's something I'm going to constantly think about if I let myself with my second pregnancy when I get pregnant again.
Right.
Yeah.
But you said like, if I let myself, so is there like some point, I think that no matter what, like these anxieties and thoughts are going to come, but I feel like it's sometimes what you choose to do with it. Do you linger on it and let it control your day, control your mood, you know,
Right.
or at some point are you like, you know what, I just have to trust that everything's going to be okay, you know, and let it go. And it doesn't mean that it's going to go away, but it still might come back, you know, but like letting it rule your day.
I hear Emmy, Jade.
I know, she's crying.
Oh, poor girl. You want to go get her?
Yeah, I'm gonna grab her. But no, I know what you mean, and it's so hard because like you have that rational thought of like, oh no, you know, it's probably okay. But
Right.
when it comes to your baby and your body and just like, you know, you would do anything. You'd move mountains just to make sure your baby's safe. So it's so scary when you have those thoughts of like, what if it's out of my control and I can't help them? Okay, hold on. I'm going to grab her.
Okay, I'll take my piece while she's going to get Emmy. I think that, I mean, the healthy way to do it, right, would be to just, like, see in your path the outcome being positive, right?
Right. Mm-hmm.
So, like, Jade, right before I went into labor, sent me, like, affirmations to, like, read for myself. So I think the healthy thing to do, but not the easiest thing to do, is maybe just do that for yourself every day. You know, if you're having anxiety about, I had placenta lakes, which was really scary because all of the blood and nutrients weren't getting to Bella, which they ended up going away. But then I was totally scared about that. But I remember I kept being like, okay, she's going to be fine. Like, she's going to get all the nutrients she needs. She's going to come out healthy. And I think that's a healthy way to do it. But it's just hard because you already feel such motherly instinct when you're pregnant. Oh, there's Emmy. Oh, look at that cute little face. But yeah, you want to move mountains to help your baby in any way. And it, I think, kind of just gives you anxiety because sometimes it's out of your control.
Yeah. So maybe just like it's helpful, like having people that you can talk to about it that can relate, like other moms.
Right.
And then also, doing some visualization, like picturing things being okay, doing affirmations, like choosing to not dwell on those thoughts, even though they'll come back, like, you know.
Yeah. And just to know that those thoughts are okay. Like,
they're normal.
They're so normal.
I think the pressure we put on ourselves is when we're like, oh, I can't think this. I'm not supposed to. And and it's okay. Like, we're human. Like, let yourself feel it and then learn how to, in some way, hopefully, like, let it go, you know?
Right.
Like, but let it be there. Like, I think it's okay to let it sit with you for a little bit.
Liz, what would you tell, like, if someone was struggling with anxiety as a doula, like, what would you tell them to do?
Basically, like a lot of stuff, though, that we just said. I like to talk about, like, what your fears are, you know, because I feel like sometimes some people don't feel comfortable, like, some people just have the thoughts in their head instead of, like, getting them out. So sometimes it's nice to be like, I'm scared of this.
Right.
And then also being reassuring, being like, you know what, that's something that, it does happen. That's something that rarely ever happens. That's a normal worry, you know?
Do you recommend journaling? Because that's something I never did, but I feel like that's something that could be very helpful for other people. And I wish I could be that person. Like, I would love to write. I just never took the time. But do you recommend journaling?
I think it depends on, like, the client. Like, if that's something that they, you know, it's finding a way to, like, connect. Like, so for some people, it's praying. For some people, it's journaling. For some people, it's going for a walk and meditating or whatever. So it's like figuring out how that person, like, that something might help. But I do think just kind of like what we said, like talking about it, finding a way to release it, visualizing the positive. I really like visualization and, like, picturing, first of all, just your belly right now giving life to that baby and everything you're already doing to protect it, you know? So just, I mean, there's a lot of different things for sure, but basically kind of what we just said. So, yeah, I mean, I do think, like you said, Jade, it's something that people, like, they are like, oh, I shouldn't be whatever. And it's like, this is completely normal. Like, you're going to have these thoughts, you know, and
Yeah.
it's choosing what to do with them. There was a question a bunch of people asked for you guys. A lot of people want to know about sleeping. And Emerson just woke up. Hi.
Yeah, she was taking a nap. It's funny because I feel like the most, not taboo, but the most controversial topics for moms besides like vaccines.
Besides vaccines.
The number one hot topic with moms, but sleeping is one of those because every family is so different and every baby is so different and every one thing that works for one family might not work for another, but people love to talk about baby sleep. It's so crazy.
They love it.
It's so crazy. I mean, people love to talk about it.
So what we're going to talk about, we want no judgment back from, because it's what's working for Carly and Jade right now.
Right. Yeah.
But I also feel like mothers might find comfort in hearing how you do it, because so many people right now are like, well, do you sleep train? Do you do this? Do you whatever?
Yeah.
And it's like, if you don't, then it's like, oh. Like,
so, yes.
You know, whereas I know you're like, you don't really sleep train, right, Jade?
No. So what's funny is I didn't even know what sleep training was until I got married. What? And started. Sorry. Oh my gosh, you guys. She's crying. And I started having friends that were having babies, and people would talk about my kid sleeps 12 hours straight. And I'm like, how? And then I had a friend of mine give me a book called Baby Wise. And they were like, this book will save your life and all this stuff. And I kind of just like thumbed through it. And I was like, I just don't really, this is not my personality, for one. The structure and the scheduling and everything. And then I just, in my heart, and I feel like every mom's intuition is very different and what fits for your family is very different. But I, in my heart, could not fathom letting my child just cry it out. And I know there's all these gentle sleep training methods that maybe work for other people and their babies aren't like Emerson, who's, I feel like a little bit of a high needs baby. But I just didn't do it. I in my gut, and maybe my second baby someday, it'll work for our family to do a sleep training. But for me right now, I pretty much just naturally know when she's getting tired, and we have kind of a flexible schedule because life is not rigid. And I'm a stay-at-home mom, so maybe it's different for other people. But it just does. I just kind of go with the flow, and I know when she needs a nap, and I know when she needs to go to bed, and that's kind of how we do it.
Yeah, I mean, we're the same way. I really thought that I read Baby Wise, and I was taking notes and doing all these things, and yeah, I mean, I'm the same. Bella still wakes up like every 3 hours to eat, maybe 4, but you know, she eats in 15 minutes and goes back to sleep. Like, I've never slept anyway. I'm in freaking insomniac. I've like not having 45 minutes of sleep extra for that night doesn't affect me because I really have never slept. So like during the day, I can tell if she's getting tired and needs a nap. So I, pick her up and rock her to sleep. I don't set her in a crib and let her cry. I'm the same way, Jade. I just can't, I don't know. I just can't do it. There's sometimes that like, she'll wake up from a nap and I'll see her in the little monitor and I just let her lay there and she doesn't cry or anything. She'll end up putting herself back to sleep. So yes, I do that. I kind of like wait to see, is she going to go back to sleep or is she going to stay awake? But, I mean, she's almost 5 months old. I know they say like by this time they're supposed to be doing this. And again, I just think all of that is whatever works for you. If you are a person who really, really needs sleep, then, maybe try it out. I don't happen to be that type of person. And I'm also not an organized, structured person either. I'm always on the no plan. That's how I live my life. So I can't be like, oh, Bella's nap is at 10 o'clock in the morning. And then she has a second nap at 12:30. And then she had I can't live my day like that. I don't know what my day is going to be.
So I forget because Emerson's now, you guys, she's 10 and a half months. Oh so gosh. I forget what it was like almost when she was super little. So I was that mom who nursed her baby to sleep every nap. And I would pretty much let her nap on me every nap. I enjoyed it though. But that's because I was a stay-at-home mom, or I am a stay-at-home mom. I work from home. And so I kind of had the luxury to do that. Mm-hmm. And I know people will say, oh, you're creating bad habits for your child. And maybe I did. But I don't regret it because she's not only going to be little this long. And we have for me, I feel like we have a really special bond. And I don't know if that's because of that, but I have cherished those moments. So, but like you were saying though, my dad's wife's granddaughter. She babysits her granddaughter, and the mom puts her kid on a very strict sleep schedule. So she does at 11 o'clock, no matter what, even if she isn't tired, she goes down. And then she sleeps when she falls asleep, she sleeps for 45 minutes. And then even if she's still sleeping, she makes Tanya wake the baby up.
Oh, really? Interesting.
Yeah. And it's just, I don't know what kind of sleep training she does, but it works for her and that's what they do. And so I know it's so different for everybody, and it would be interesting to get some kind of sleep training coach on the podcast just because I know
I found one that we could bring on.
Yeah, we should, because just I don't know enough about it. Like I said, I thumbed through BabyWise. Yeah. So for people who want to try to do that in their lives, maybe we should try to bring somebody on.
I think too, you can tell if your baby is or is not having enough sleep. If Bella hasn't had a nap, I can tell she starts getting really fussy. And I'm like, oh, she's tired. And sometimes she's hit the tired wall where she's so tired that it does take a little bit longer to get her to sleep. Mm-hmm. But if you have a happy baby and they're sleeping and I don't know. To me, I'm does it really matter that they missed a nap? They're still doing just fine,
right.
I don't know.
Well, I mean, it is what works for you and your family. And I think that the thing is, a lot of people say that sleep training helps because then you have that alone time with your partner. But you can find that, I mean, when your baby's sleeping, whether they're in your room or right next to you, you're probably still are they sleeping? Are they okay? Are they whatever?
Right.
You know? And I mean, you can find that in your relationship. And if it's working for you, knowing that your baby's right there and asleep, so then you can enjoy that time with your partner,
right.
Maybe that's what works for you. You
know?
And
I think that is one of the reasons too why we didn't choose to sleep train with Emerson as well, is because Tanner wouldn't get home until 8, and if you sleep train, they tell you to have your baby sleep from 7 to 7.
Right.
And so Tanner would literally never see Emerson.
Yeah.
So it just didn't work for our schedule.
Yeah.
Well, there you guys go. No judgment on sleep training. If you've previously listened to this show, you've heard us talk about FrameBridge. They make it super easy and affordable to custom frame your favorite things, from art prints and posters to the photos on your phone. And it's so easy to do. You just go to framebridge.com, upload your photo from your computer or directly from your Instagram. You can even send in a physical picture that you want them to frame. You preview your item online in any frame style, choose your favorite, or get free recommendations from their talent designers. The expert team at FrameBridge will custom frame your item in days, not weeks or months, and deliver your finished piece directly to your door, ready to hang. The best part, instead of the hundreds you'd pay at a framing store, their prices start at $39, and all shipping is free. Plus, our listeners will get 15% off their first order at framebridge.com when they use our code BABES. They have thousands of 5-star reviews and even offers a happiness guarantee. If for some reason you're not 100% satisfied with your order, they will make it right.
You guys, I am actually sitting in Bella's room right now. This is my happy podcast place. And I had the cutest picture of her blown up so big. I mean, it's so big, but it's so fantastic. Aww. And it's her laying on the bed and with these little fairies from when she was like maybe 2 months old. And it just makes me happy every single time I look at it. And I'm just so thankful that they made this so easy for me to do. I seriously just took a photo from my phone, sent it in, chose a frame, and then it came to me in like a week. And now it's just pure happiness every time I look at it.
That's so cute. I feel like when they grow up, we forget how little they were
I
back then. So
know.
now you'll have that forever.
Totally.
You guys, you can get started framing your photos today. Go to framebridge.com and use our promo code BABES. You'll save an additional 15% off your first order. Just go to framebridge.com, promo code BABES. That's framebridge.com, promo code BABES. Okay. So Liz, I have a question for you from somebody. As a doula, do you typically come to any prenatal doctor appointments, or do you meet the doctor for the first time in the delivery room? How does that?
I would say for the most part, I just meet them in the delivery room. If a client wants me to go with them to an appointment, and that's like one of our appointment, because I like to meet with them a few times before the delivery. So if like one of those times she's like, why don't you come to the appointment with me? Absolutely. I haven't done that yet. But there are some women also who don't really have a partner. And you might be more of that supportive person in their life. But for the most part, I just meet the doctor the first time. I always make sure though that the doctor knows that I'm going to be present. I always have the client talk to the doctor and be like, I'm going to have a doula there.
Not like, surprise! Here's my doula. She's going to be judging everything you say.
No, I go in with no judgment, or I just keep the judgments in my mind. So never out loud to my client or to the doctor. But yeah, usually always it's just at the birth. But I had somebody ask, like, after seeing like so many births, like if that makes me being scared of having a baby or wanting to have a baby. Yeah. It makes me want to have a baby. Like, I'm so excited to give birth, because after seeing the process, it's just such, like, the energy in the room when a baby is born is crazy to me. Like, it's life being brought into this world, and it's so empowering, and I can't wait to do that. I want to push a baby out of my vagina. And, I just feel like it's such an empowering thing that we can do. And I'm not scared of it. Like, obviously, just like what we were talking about earlier, the fears and things that will come up, I'm sure that I'm going to, doubt certain things or be scared of certain things. And hopefully, like, I'll have a healthy pregnancy and stuff. But, I can't wait to do it. I love being around it. I could watch birth all day long, and I can't wait to birth my own babies.
Have you been present for a C-section? Have you had any moms?
No. I talked to this client recently, actually, who has a C-section scheduled. But we're not gonna do it. I haven't. Thankfully, like, even the last birth I did, she had a C-section with her first and went in, and I was there for her second, and she didn't want to end up in another C-section. But her water broke, and once your water breaks, they give you like 24 hours to deliver. So we did everything we could to keep labor moving, and it did. And she delivered vaginally successfully, which was awesome. But if not, like, I would have been there for that. Thankfully, none of my clients have had to have them. But that's also, I feel like, the chance of having a C-section, it decreases by almost 30% when you have a doula present.
Yeah, so, I've heard that statistic, which is crazy. That's a pretty high
significant
percentage. Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So that's why the insurance companies are all over starting to cover doulas, because it's cheaper to pay for a doula than it is to pay for all the medical interventions that happen when one's not present.
I have another question then so you're there for the birth, and then if you haven't really done any doctor or prenatal appointments, how many times do you generally meet with a client before their birth?
I like to meet at least like a few times. But sometimes, like, I've been hired. I had one client hire me a couple weeks before she was due, and I didn't meet with her till the delivery.
That's crazy.
Yeah. So, actually that's happened a couple times. where they hired me in the last few weeks, and then I met them like once basically for the consultation. And then I'm like, I'll send you the paperwork. If you decide to go through with it, like send me back the contract, whatever. And then they sent back the contract, and a week later they delivered. So
wow.
I like to meet a few times. I actually just had an appointment Saturday. I'm super excited. This lady's giving birth in September. I have a couple of births coming up. So somebody asked about that too, is like, how do you build your clientele, or how, like, first of all, I went through DONA International to get certified. I know there's a lot of great options out there. You can legit just Google it. And, building your clientele is really, really hard. It is working for yourself. And people ask, like, how do you find the right doula? And I think word of mouth, like if you know someone who used one and had a great experience, you can Google it obviously in your area, but then I would interview a few people to see if those people are on the same energy length or want the same things as you or whatever. But, Emerson, what do you want to talk about, girlfriend?
She's like, I also have a question for the doula.
But yeah, it's super exciting stuff. I love being a doula, and I am really trying to like build my clientele here in Chicago, and it has been really hard because I feel like in Vegas I got a little bit of word of mouth. I had a little bit of a base, and here I was kind of starting from scratch, but I've been here almost a year, and I will have had like 3 births. So I would like to build that up a lot more.
So what you're trying to say is if you're in Chicago, holla
at your girl.
Holla at your girl.
For sure. I have a question for you guys real quick on parenting though. Some people ask parenting questions. Are you and your spouses like on similar lengths, you think, parenting?
Oh. Well, okay. So when it comes to parenting, the boys, unless I really have to, because Evan's not around, let him parent.
Yeah.
Like if Nathan's here, because Nathan lives with us full time, if I need to parent Nathan, I have no problem parenting Nathan because he's 17 and can handle it.
Yeah.
But like, for example, the other day, like the youngest is still pretty scared of doing stuff on his own. And Evan just has he's just such a sweet man. And he really likes to like, hold his kid's hand through a lot of stuff. And I'm like, no, we need to make them independent. Like our job is to make them independent. And so like, we were dropping them off to get their hair cut. And the youngest was like, Dad, can you please come in with me? I don't know how to tell them what to do. And he's like, just tell him to take the weight out and make it a little bit shorter. And he's like, please come in. And I was like, Evan, just let them handle it. Like Nathan can help him. He's 17. Like we're good. And he was so upset when he walked in the hairdresser. And Evan was like, oh my gosh, like, is that okay? And I was like, yes, I think it's okay. I think we need to start doing things like that. And so it is interesting coming from I'm a new parent and being like, hey, maybe we should try this with the boys. And he's like, okay. And he really welcomes ideas, but I don't do that very often. And then like with Bella, we obviously don't discipline her or anything yet. But, Evan has different ideas about like, he'll be like, don't go in. Like if she's napping, he'll be like, don't go in there. You won't like how I've laid her down, and I'm like, what? And I'll go in and she's like, on the bed, like half on a pillow, like curled up all awkward. And I'm like, you can't do that to the baby. And he's like, she's fine. So I don't know. I think you sometimes have to like pick your battles and just try to figure it out. And like sometimes I just close my eyes to what he's doing. And I'm like, okay, if that's your time, then you just do your time, but like, Jade and I are going out of town to get our hair done again. He's like, well, I'll take care of Bella. And I'm like, so no. Like, I don't trust him to like take care of her for 2 nights because he won't even wake up during the night because he just doesn't wake up when Bella's crying or anything. It's crazy. But
yeah,
I don't know. I think it just kind of like, I don't know. I just kind of let Evan do things and I just kind of take over where I can.
I think it's really good what you were saying, though, with Evan's youngest, though, because There's like this thing, I read this article about how the next generations of kids have been so coddled that we're not giving them their independence. And no wonder why there's a rise in anxiety and depression and all these things with children. And I think it's really good to show them that they can do things on their own and that they're capable. Yeah. And I think there's obviously there's boundaries and there's certain, it needs to be within a certain situations, I guess, or environments. But I feel like it's so hard with the babies, like the youngest, my brother Briley, and especially the baby boys. Like if you're the baby of the family and you're a boy, I feel like there's something about that where they just get so coddled. Like
I agree.
My mom is a self-admitted, I mean, my parents have they've admitted that my youngest brother Briley was just never given his own independence, or I can make decisions and if I make a decision and I mess up and it's a mistake, that it's a learning experience and it's okay, and that I can try again. And I feel like sometimes we're so worried we live in a scary world now, and so we're just so worried about our children that we don't give them those opportunities to make choices. And so that's definitely my parenting strategy. Obviously, Emerson's 10 months. She doesn't really have a lot of choices right now. But Tanner and I are on that same page, which is good. But I do let her have a lot of freedom. So I know I say I nursed my child to sleep a lot when she was younger, and I let her nap on me, and we do some like co-sleeping and all these things that maybe seem like I coddle my child. But she's given a lot of independence, and I let her. I'm not saying like I let her crawl up the stairs, and if she falls down, well, she learned a lesson. Like I said, there's boundaries. But I don't want my child to grow up being scared of life.
Me either.
And making decisions. So that's definitely my parenting strategy, I think. And I'm very lucky that Tanner, as a partner, we have a lot of those same ideas when it comes to parenting. But I know I'm definitely going to be the enforcer. Tanner definitely wants to be the fun dad.
It's going to totally be the same with Evan and I. Like with Bella specifically, I already know I'm going to be the one who's like, nope, you can't do that. And she's going to be like, Dad. Yeah. But I think it's also, you watch your kids, you give them like, hey, you have to make a decision and live with the consequence. And then you see like, for example, like, going and getting your haircut and telling them, hey, this is how I want it done. You walk out and you have a good haircut and you did that. Then you get a little bit of confidence for the next time that you do it, Yeah. And then as a parent, you see that happening and you know, like, oh, this is a really good technique because they're learning. And now, oh my gosh, this kid has a little bit of confidence now. Where he was scared, he now feels brave, So that's definitely what I want to do with Bella for sure.
Yeah.
I think that's really good because I just hope I see kids coming up, like, I don't know. Kids are so different these days than kids are like when we were growing up. And so it's different. Scary to me. Like, not that I think all the kids now are bad, but it's not always necessarily what I want for my children. So I don't know. I think parenting is tough, but I like the whole giving them independence thing for sure.
Yeah. And I'm talking from somebody who literally has zero experience. So I know.
Also, these are just our opinions. We're no experts, like we say earlier.
Oh, yeah. Sure.
But I'm going to do this, and I'm going to do that, and I'm going to do this. And I just act like I have everything figured out. And when it comes to when it comes to my time to actually enforce those things, I'm going to probably poop my pants. So.
Yeah.
But I mean, there's also probably so many things so far. I mean, has there been things so far that you're like, I'm never going to do this? And then you already were like, yep, I did that. I don't even care.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yes. Right. Tons of those things. Yeah. I will say that this is like a side comment, but someone asked me about step parenting and if the kids bring over suitcases or like, what do they bring? Like, does it stress you out that they have so much stuff that they're lugging back and forth? None of that stresses me out. Like, if the kids need a soccer bag and a suitcase or whatever, which they never bring a suitcase, we have clothes here and they have clothes there and they'll bring them back and forth. The only bags they really take are like their book bags and like their soccer stuff back and forth. But So I went off on someone on social media the other day, and I shouldn't have, but I've been getting this comment a lot, and this is not what this person meant, but I have been so mad that people are so crazy. So someone left a comment, and I thought this is what they meant. So people keep getting upset with me and Evan if we post a picture with Bella and the boys aren't in the photo. Like, it really bothers them that they're acting like we have two separate lives or something. But we have the boys half-time. So, except for Nathan, he's full-time with us, but he's 17 and he is never here or doesn't want to take a picture with me and Bella. Like, he's 17. He's a teenage boy who, like, wants to go hang out with his friends. So, and the weeks that we have the boys, it's so easy for me to sit and take a picture with Bella and post it. The boys are playing soccer. They're playing video games. Like, they're boys. They don't want to sit and take a picture with me and be like, hey, you guys want to cuddle on the couch and take a photo? And it's really starting to irritate me how people are acting like I'm choosing not to post them. Like, that's not a thing. I would love every picture for us to be a big part of this, beautiful family and have it on Instagram, but that's just not our life. The boys are constantly running around. I constantly have a baby attached to me, so that's what I'm going to take a picture of. So I went off on this person, and she was like, that's actually not what I meant at all. And I'm like, oh, okay, sorry. But I've been getting that a lot lately, and it is super frustrating and sad that people feel that that's what's happening in our lives. Like, one, I can't take a picture with them when we don't have them for a week because we're at their mom. And two, the week that we do have them, they're playing video games or playing soccer. Like,
so they're at school, they're playing soccer, they're home for like a couple hours and go to bed, then repeat the whole thing again. Like,
and what? 3, you're allowed to post whatever the F you want to post. Like, it's just so funny. It's so hard because I want to say, like, listen, person, it's none of your business, but yet we're putting it out in public. So we're kind of inviting people into our business. But, it's so hard. And then the person retracts it and says, well, that's not what I really meant. Then it's like, well, then why make a comment at all?
Right. Yeah. It's just been something I've been dealing with lately that it just, as a stepmom with a baby of my own, it's so hard to figure out what that balance is anyway. Even like we just talked about with parenting, like, yes, I can obviously parent Bella very easily because she's my child. But, I don't want to step on anybody's toes when it comes to being a stepmom. I try to figure out, what my place is, which is a hard thing to figure out for any step parent.
Yeah.
And to have some, just people from the outside already saying like, do you not love them? Why aren't they in your photos? Blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, that's so crazy. Like, the boys and Bella love each other so much. I love Evan's children so much. They are my children. Like, just because I'm not posting that because they're boys and they want to play video games, like, what is it to you? You don't know our life.
It's their summer vacation. It's their summer vacation.
It's their summer vacation.
Yeah.
It's so crazy. Anyway, I just thought I would tell you guys that because it's been bothering me lately.
That's what this space is for.
Yeah, get it off your chest, girl.
And sorry for yelling at you people on social media for saying these things, but it's frustrating because you're judging something that you don't know about. So don't do that to me and don't do that to your fellow humans.
I feel like
because we don't need that.
I feel
life's hard enough.
I know. Mm-hmm. I feel with this podcast, sometimes I have a really hard time too because I've had some feedback from a couple of people say some things about some of the things we've said and how they've been sensitive topics for them. And they're like, you need to put like a trigger warning in front of this. And it's so hard because I want to please everybody. And I take those comments really to heart and it discourages me sometimes. And I'm like, oh man, maybe like this podcast isn't something that I'm meant for if I'm offending people or, but, and then it's like, this is why we decided to do this podcast is we wanted to connect with moms in all different angles and share our lives and share our experiences and hope that people relate to them so we don't feel alone. And so it's so hard when something I say offends somebody. I'm sorry, you guys.
We're always going to offend somebody. That's the thing, though. Like, people are always going to get offended. And I don't mean this to sound heartless at all, because it's not. Like, sometimes people are overly sensitive, and they need to learn to be like, I understand when this person said this, like, it wasn't at me, and maybe they don't understand because they're not in it or going through it. Like, people take things so personally, and they're so sensitive. So sometimes when people make comments and I'm like, oh, that wasn't a good comment, then I'm like, well, they don't know that maybe that's something I'm struggling with.
Right.
You know, it's never an attack. It's never anything personal. We're coming from our own experiences. And if we haven't experienced what you have, then we don't understand it, and we're sorry. You know, so it does suck, but people are always going to be offended at some point.
Yeah. And if we don't understand it, like, I want to understand it. So at least, I mean, I'm not saying that it's bad for people to give feedback like that, because it does open my mind to be like, I never thought of it that way. Thank you for letting me know that maybe next time I should say it a little bit in a different phrase. So I don't want to discourage people from that either, because that's me learning about you too, and I want to.
Right. I think it's like the difference of giving like feedback in a hostile way and giving feedback in like a, hey, this is just my opinion way.
Right.
Or
Totally.
Yeah.
And that goes for life in general.
Yes. Yes, that is so true.
I have a couple more questions I want to ask quick before we end this. One, both you guys have traveled a lot with your daughters now. And there's people out there who are planning their summer vacations and planning trips like this. What are maybe some tips that you have for people taking an infant in a plane to a hotel, any of these things? What are the things that you feel like you're like, oh crap, I definitely needed to bring this, and now I do?
Well, I'm traveling with Bella alone for their first time this coming weekend. So I have traveled a lot with her and Evan, but now that I'm doing it alone, I'm still going to bring all the same things, but I am nervous about it. Just because even like taking the stroller down to drop it off next to the plane, like Evan's such a pro at like doing it with one hand. And I'm like, oh my God, like, how do I do this with holding Bella?
I have done this a lot, and I have figured out the best way to do it. So I will tell you the best way.
Okay, how do I do it?
Okay, so because I have fumbled through this so many times, but when you take the stroller down and she's still in the car, like the car seat, right? So you take the car seat off and you leave her in it, and you still set it on the run, whatever that thing is called.
Yeah.
And then so you have both hands, and then you can fold up your stroller and set it aside, right?
Okay.
And she's just sitting in the car seat still, and then you unbuckle her and you take her out, and then you just leave the car seat.
I think because we just used the car seat last time, we were just using the stroller, which is way too big for her, and she sits lopsided and sideways in it. Poor girl. But she's fine. You guys, she's fine. But yeah, this time I'm definitely going to do the car seat. That's a great idea.
Well, I know that you guys use that bag. You put your car seat in a bag. We don't.
Do you not do that?
I don't, but that just because I only have two hands. And when I'm traveling alone, it's like I'm carrying. Okay. Then I have her, and I can't zip up.
We were using the bag because we were checking it.
Oh, yeah.
So I mean, if I'm not checking it, then but
it still goes under the plane, and people get worried about damage.
Right.
With me, when I'm going by myself, I'm just like I'm just rolling with it.
Yeah. I mean, I think I guess going through the security line, all you have to do is all you have to do, I say that now, but do the exact same thing. Put your stroller through, put your car seat through, hold your baby through. But for me, I bring obviously formula, and then I buy a water bottle in there. And my stuff always gets checked to make sure that, it's not going to explode or something. And then I feed her going up. And then if there's turbulence or something, I usually feed her for ears when she swallows to pop her ears. And I bring and this is not TSA regulated, but I bring a boppy lounger and put it on my lap. So if she wants to nap, she can nap on it. I bring her toys. I just talk to her and give her attention the whole time, basically.
Yeah. The best advice is to give them 24/7 attention.
Yeah.
I mean, I probably pull out a new toy every 20 minutes. I'm like, totally. New toy.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think that I think the trick, even for me, like this coming weekend, is just to rip off the Band-Aid and do it. And then the next time it won't be as scary, you know?
Yeah.
Like, I'm lucky that I have traveled with Evan and he's traveled with babies before. And so he just knew how to do it.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, because it is hard. And I would say, you know, if it's your first time, then ask the person checking you in, which you have to check a baby in anyway if it's a lap child. You know, ask them, say like, hey, how do I get the stroller on the plane? And they'll explain that you have to go check the stroller in when you get to your gate. Like, they'll explain all of those things and make your life like a ton easier.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
yeah.
And don't be
And
afraid.
just ask anyone for help.
Yeah, don't be afraid to ask anyone for help because usually they're really nice.
Yeah.
Is there anything that you guys bring for like the hotel room for the baby, like to sleep or?
Oh, yes.
yeah.
A lot of hotels will have a pack and play if you're not weird about it. Like, you know, if you're
Okay.
not too germy, a lot of them will have
Yeah.
one that they'll bring to your room.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Interesting.
I mean, most hotels I've been to at least have had a pack and play. Or you could bring whatever, like a DockATot or whatever works for you.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know.
I bring, so Bella sleeps in the Snuggle Me lounger at night. And so I either put that in her bassinet, or if we're out somewhere else, I'll just put it next to me. So I always bring that with me because she's now like at the point of rolling around and I'd rather have her like more secure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And just give yourself lots of extra time. And I'm sure you know that as a parent that.
Oh, wait, I have one more thing to add. So last week when we traveled, I had put a lot of my stuff and Bella's stuff together in a checked bag, which I never do. And they sent it to the wrong state.
Oh, yeah.
So my suggestion, which I'm going to do this time, is if you're formula feeding, make sure you just have a whole thing of formula with you. Like I had 3 bottles worth. No, I had to go buy more. Diapers, like all of the stuff that's necessary. A few changes of clothes, even a new shirt for you in a bag, a new pair of underwear, just in case something happens. So, because we had to run out at midnight and try to find a store with her formula, and it was just stress that we didn't need. So if you can just take a check bag, it's going to be really hard because you're doing it like with a bag on the plane. Just take everything with you just in case.
Can I tell you guys a funny Tanner story about traveling that happened?
Oh my gosh, yes.
So, hold on.
She's like, don't talk about my dad.
Somebody told me that they're tired of hearing my baby on the podcast too, so I'm sorry, you guys.
Blah.
They're like, I get it. They're like, I hear my kids scream all day. I don't want to hear yours. And I'm like, yeah, I get it too.
Oh my
Well, then you're listening to the wrong podcast.
Anyway, so Tanner, our family, we all went out of town, out of country, and we were coming back through customs. And the customs line was in Dallas. And there was like probably 300 people literally in this customs. And there was 3 or 4 workers probably letting everyone through. And it was like huge lines. So Tanner, we get in this line because this lady's like, oh, you have a family? Okay, you're going to go in this line, which we thought was a shortcut line. We're like, oh, thank God she's going to let us through. We're going to make our flight. And this line had 1 worker working it, and we were in it for probably a half hour, did not even move. So this lady comes by, and Tanner, who works there, and Tanner starts complaining, and he's holding Emerson. This is ruining my story. Hold on, guys. I have to put her on the booby. All right, well, we're gonna have to edit that part. So this lady comes by and she works there, and Tanner's holding Emerson, and he's like kind of like shaking her up and down, trying to keep her happy. And he looks at this lady and he just goes, can we get through this line because our flight's in 5 minutes? And he goes, we didn't know it was going to be like this. There's several hours of time allotted for us to make our flight, and now we're not going to make it. I have he calls her a newborn. He goes, I have a newborn right here, and we just ran out of formula. Are you telling me that I'm going to have to spend the night in the airport with a baby with no formula?
Oh my God.
And the lady just looks at him, and she's like, oh my God, okay, hold on. And then she led us through this line, and I looked at her, and I go, a newborn who's out of formula.
Like, that's the biggest newborn I've ever seen.
Like, she's almost walking.
Oh my God. Jade, that's really funny.
He just made it this big line. I'm like, oh my God, Tanner. But it got us through, and we made our flight, you guys, with 5 minutes before takeoff. So we wouldn't have made it. We wouldn't have made it without him doing that. But I just rolled my eyes. But hey, he came through.
Gosh, Evan and I, almost in the same situation, missed our connecting flight when we went through customs, and we asked the airline, "Hey, can you help us out? Can you get us on the next flight?" Blah blah blah. They told us, "You had plenty of time to make your flight. This is your fault that you didn't make it."
No.
And Evan's like, "I'm sorry, what? We just sat through that customs line for hours, like how with a child, and ran to this flight, and it left 7 minutes early. What are you even talking about?" And she's like, "This is your problem, not ours."
Yeah.
Is that not insane?
Oh my gosh.
But
so rude.
So at the customs, there's probably 25 little I don't know what you call them, but available for attendance to get you through customs. And out of 25 of them, there was like 5 people. And there was, I'm not lying, probably 300 people waiting in line at customs.
It was insane.
It was, my mom almost got lost.
I know. My parents were 30 minutes behind us in line because Evan cut the line. Gosh, good old Evan. Which we probably would have made the flight had my parents cut with us, but they didn't.
That is crazy.
It all worked out.
I know. It did. We're home.
Okay.
So one other question was just kind of how did you guys, someone asked, like how you decided, because Jade, you birthed, well, your plan was to birth in a birthing center with a midwife, but since you were premature, you had to do hospital, but you still had a midwife. Carly, you had hospital birth with an OB. So how did you make these decisions? And is like, what would you choose for your next?
You can go ahead, Carly, first.
I would do mine exactly the same with the same doctor. It was a really good experience for me. Very easy. Our doctor is like, I just love him. Dr. Martin in Cool Springs.
I mean, you claimed your territory. Funny. You peed on him already.
I peed on him. He's mine. I have him forever. No, I would do it exactly the same way, to be honest.
Good. That's awesome.
Yeah.
I would like to do mine at the birth center again with the same midwife as well. But I read something that, like, if you have a baby prematurely, then you're, like, considered high risk for your next pregnancy and you're not supposed to deliver at a birth center. So I'm, like, praying I need to call her and ask her, because I would love to just, because I planned on birthing at the birth center and then I had to at the hospital with Emerson, but it was an affiliated hospital, so she was still able to be my midwife, which was awesome. But I just hope that I can still do that. I need to figure that out.
But what made you decide, I guess, on the birth center and midwife in the first place?
I feel like I've shared this earlier in one of the very early podcast episodes, but I've always just wanted to have a natural birth. It was just something that I felt was for me and my baby. And when I got pregnant, Tanner was freaked out because he was an emergency C-section baby. And he always just thought all births were very traumatic, and sometimes they are, sometimes they aren't. And I decided to go to a doctor because of that, because he was very, very worried. And I loved her. There was nothing wrong with her, and she was wonderful. She was funny. She made me feel comfortable. Tanner liked her. But I still just would go to the website of this birthing center and just watch their videos and just research and watch videos on YouTube about it and read books. And I just felt like it was for me. So I told Tanner, I said, I want to go to their orientation. And he was like, if you really want to, go. So at 28 weeks pregnant, I went to this orientation and I texted Tanner. I was like, this is it. This is where I want to be. And so he was like, okay, I trust you. And so I ended up switching at 28 weeks pregnant to the birthing center.
Yeah, that's crazy. That's like, I feel like the one thing, Vito and I see eye to eye on a lot of things. We don't on when it comes to birthing our children. So that's something that we have to figure out, because it's something I really struggle with, because his sister-in-law almost died giving birth. So he's had a lot of traumatic experiences. And I would like to have an at-home water birth. And I've had great experiences with that. My sister had 4 at-home water births. So that's been my story. His story's been very different. So he's very anti me birthing at home. And I have a very hard time picturing myself birthing in a hospital. Like, I'll start crying about it if I start talking about it. Like, I don't know. So I know we'd have to look at birthing centers, but the one that I looked at here, you can only have 3 people in the room. We want his mom, my mom. I want my sister. I want like 12 people in my room. So like, I'm like, I don't know how this is going to work. But I mean, we'll figure it out when the time comes.
Yeah. Yeah. It's so interesting just how experiences shape us, you know? And
Totally.
Yeah. But it'll all work out in the end for you, and you'll have your little nugget someday.
Yeah. One thing at a time. We'll figure it out when we have to. I know that there's a lot of questions that we didn't get to in this episode, and I know a lot of people asked about postpartum depression. I would encourage you to refer back to our postpartum anxiety episode, and also listen at the end. There's all the symptoms of if you truly do have postpartum depression, that there are people that you can talk to. There's a difference between postpartum anxiety and depression. And I think we talked about before, and you guys had a little bit of anxiety, but not really experience with like true depression with it. Correct?
Yeah.
But it's definitely something that I know we've talked about before. We still would like to bring on somebody who's an expert with the depression and have them talk about it more, since we are not experts in that area.
Yeah, because I definitely had baby blues for sure. Like when my hormones dipped back down, I definitely had the baby blues, but I don't think that I had what would be diagnosed as postpartum depression, but I did have some anxiety, and I still do sometimes, but it's definitely gone down as I feel like my hormones have regulated more. So, but yeah, I think it would be great to have somebody on who could be an expert in that topic.
Absolutely.
Yes. And for the questions that we didn't get to either, like we said, we want to do this like every couple of months, because you guys send us so much that you want us to talk about and answer. So we will definitely be doing another Q&A with us, with the special guest us.
Yes. Featuring me and Jim.
In a couple months. So I don't know if you ladies have anything else that...
No, I mean, thanks for listening, you guys. And don't forget to subscribe to the Babes and Babies podcast on iTunes, and tune in next week and the next week after that. And we just appreciate you guys so much for hanging out with us and supporting us and listening. It means more than you guys know. So thank you all.
And don't forget to follow us on Instagram.
Oh, yes. And just remember, you're doing so good. Everybody, we're doing great. We are great. Everything is great. Everything's going to be great.
Everything is awesome.
All right.
All right. See you next week, guys.
Bye.
Bye.
This podcast is brought to you by Wave Podcast Network. Check out all of our shows, including the Brain Candy Podcast, I Don't Get It, Babes and Babies, Coffee Convos, and Let's Talk About It.